Hi, this lesson will be on finding the area of a decagon. The first thing we need to review is the fact that a decagon is any polygon that has 10 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Here I have another decagon, and it's divided into different triangles from each side going towards the center. The height of a decagon is measured from the point from the center straight down to the base. It is the same way that we find a height for a triangle or for a trapezoid or a pentagon. So up here I have a plate. These are equal. This rectangle takes up the same amount of space as this blank space. And we know any time that we want to find the area of any figure, we want to try and turn it into a rectangle, because we know that the area for a rectangle is calculated by the base times the height. So here's the perimeter, the outside measure, and this is the height. Let's see what happens when we try to build this rectangle. The first thing I want to do is build my base, and then pay attention to what part of the decagon is making the base. I'm almost finished, and I can see that my base is made by half of my perimeter. I can see that it took 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far, I know the first part of my formula is the perimeter cut in half, or the perimeter divided by 2. Now I'm just going to fill in the rest of my rectangle. And now I'm left with figuring out my height. Now, this piece is the same as the others, but it's divided in a way so that I can fill in my height. So we remember this is my height. When I make the height of my rectangle, I notice that the height of my decagon does not change. It's exactly the same. So that means that the formula for the area of a decagon is half of the perimeter times the height. And we can test it just to make sure. We can see it is the same. The base is the same, and we can tell that the height is the same. So how would we draw something like this? I'm glad you asked. The first thing that you can do is trace a decagon. Decagons are hard to find if you don't happen to have one like this. There are sometimes some stencils that have decagons in them, and you can just trace the stencil. Once you have your decagon traced, you'll want to put in your height. I, again, like to use a dotted line for the height, but you could use a solid line if you wish. Now here's where it can get a little tricky. The formula says the area equals the perimeter divided by 2, or cut in half, it means the same thing, times the height. A lot of times when you're given a problem like this with a picture of it, they'll just give you a number on one of the sides. But that is not the perimeter, is it? It would have to be 3 times 10. So don't fall for that trap. Sometimes in word problems they'll just say the perimeter of a decagon is 30. However, with a drawing they'll often just give you one side, so don't fall for it. Now, when you're doing your own work, your height can be anything because we're not cutting the height in half. And luckily, anything times 10 can be cut in half. So at this point, you can choose any numbers that you like. I will make my height 4. So once I've written my formula, I will now put in my numbers. Now the perimeter is not 3. It's 3 times 10, which is 30, divided by 2 times 4. Next step is what is half of 30? I know that's 15. However, if you didn't, you could just divide by 2 on the side. 2 fits into 3 one time. Bring down my 0, and 2 fits into 10 5 times with no remainders, and I would get the same answer there and there. And now we just have to do 15 times 4. Area equals. Now you may know that this is 60 just because maybe you're familiar with it. Again, if you're not, that's not a problem. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. My answer is 60 squares. And this is how you figure out the area of a decagon.